seller, a house flipper, a businesswoman, a go-getter, a big investor, a gold builder that could teach you to get richer like millions, baby. You really about to fill your savings. You about to have multiple streams to pass your children, baby. Let me teach you to get your credit on track in the long run. You'll make it all back at Catalyst and watch it all psychological black on firm, but we ain't all black.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Constance Carter. It's Thursday. What's happening? Come on in, my friends. You know that I love to have a conversation when I go live. This is a dialogue and not a monologue, okay? So come on in. Go tell your friends that Constance Carter is in. Let me tell you something. I be having bars. Hold up. I be having bars. All right. I normally don't go live on Thursdays by myself. Normally I'll have Dr. Jones on here with me and we're talking all the good health stuff for Black health, just trying to get us in shape. But Dr. Jones, she has to go to work today. She got to go and save lives as a doctor. So I'm going to talk to you today. And, you know, I always want to talk about things that I think that are important for us as Black people. I want to talk to you about the economy and what's going on, because I see so much news. You know, when you go on CNN and you hear, what's his name? Kevin O'Reilly or whatever the man's name is, talking about, but the S&P 500, the stock market's at its all-time high. Don't worry about, people raping little babies and raping young girls and eating people. The S&P, we should just forget about it because the S&P 500's at an all-time high. And I don't know if you guys know that the stock market is doing very well. They're saying that the job market is doing very well, that unemployment, I don't know how this works, but unemployment is at 4%. So unemployment is low. However, we lost jobs. There were more jobs cut in January of 2026 than the Great Recession of 2009. There were more jobs cut in January last month of 2026 than in the Great Recession of 2009. So my question to everybody is, are we great? Donald Trump claims that we are the most respected country in the world. We're actually a laughing stock. There's no morals in the White House. I mean, it's just run by people who probably never taken a civics class, who don't have a more than a third grade level of comprehension, that can't really put a sentence together. So it's just a lot going on. And I feel like we're in the twilight zone. It's like, wake me. When are we going to be awake from this nightmare that we're in? But such is life. I always want to talk about, though, how we can overcome this. What can we do? How we as Black people, because I told y'all, if y'all been listening to me, if y'all been listening to me long enough, I told you guys in 2025, last year, when that man got elected, and I was so disappointed. I was like, first, let me just tell you, I'm gonna be honest. When Trump was running against Biden, I didn't really have a dog in a fight. Not because I am particularly fond of Trump at all, but it was just more so, ain't nobody talking about reparations. Ain't nobody talking about doing nothing specifically for Black people. So I didn't care. Then once Kamala got in, I was like, okay, now I got a vested interest. Let's see what's getting ready to happen. And really, I wanted to stick it to these folks, these nationalists. I really wanted them to like just die on a sword, because they were going to have a Black woman commander in chief. Two things that they really hated is Black people and women. So I thought that was going to be great. So then I started really paying attention. I just wasn't really paying attention because, again, for me, Biden hadn't done anything specifically for, and particularly for Black people. He said Black men were super predators. They incarcerated so many Black people during his term in the Senate or in Congress, and he proposed bills that really criminalized Black people. So I wasn't a big fan of Biden either. And I'm not necessarily a Democrat or Republican. I'm actually a registered independent. So it's not about blood or crip for me. It's really about right and wrong, and it's really about Black first. So I care about what Black people, the needs of Black people, period. And what it looked like for me is that none of them were looking out for our best interest. So, but what we've seen is the reason why so many people wanted Trump in office is because they really wanted to disenfranchise Black folks. You see with Project 2025 and all of the all the legislations and all the rollbacks and everything that has particularly affected us. And it's actually affected most people who aren't elite or who aren't high earners or who aren't millionaires and billionaires. It's really negatively impacted us. The first person that Donald Trump fired when he got into office was a white woman admiral in the military, because of DEI, because of her, I forget her name, but because of her policies on DEI and just trying to, get more people of color and women in the military. She was the first one on the chopping block. And it was, I thought it was ironic that so many white women voted for Donald Trump, and a white woman was the first one who got taken off, right? Because of DEI. Because honestly, if you're not rich, if you're not white, if you're not a male, they don't give a damn about you. So what they care about is keeping the power, and what they care about is keeping the money. And so everybody else is just a casualty of war. However, what they do know how to do very well is manipulate. They know how to mind poor people, especially poor and uneducated people. They think Donald Trump is just like them when he wouldn't even shake their hand if he had to. So, it's all of those things. It's a lot of mind fuck going on. But what I said last year when he got into office is that what Black people need to do is we need to mind our Black business, and we need to mind our Black business. We need to mind, MIND, our Black business, right? We need to come inside and we need to start working on our Black shit, and we need to mind. We need to start working on our Black business. So mind our Black business. And in fact, I actually got paraphernalia. We minding our Black business, and we minding our Black. I got coffee mugs and everything. We minding our Black business, and we minding our Black business. That's what we gonna do. After 2025 and beyond, we minding our Black business, and we minding our Black business. That's what we have to do. We have to work on us. We got to work on being us, building our communities first. But I do want to tell you, I do want to give you some statistics, because I think that's important for us to really understand where we are. Okay, so if you understand where we are, they said the S&P 500 is up. Yay. But our community really is still dealing with higher unemployment than anybody else. And that it means that we're not really participating in this wealth of economy. So if stock market is up, if you're not participating in the stock market, then how are we benefiting? So we do have to participate in the stock market, and we're going to talk about that. However, that's not our main source of income for the most part. So what happened is in January of 2026, 108,000 jobs were cut. 108,435 jobs were cut. And that's the highest that layoffs have been since 2009 during the Great Recession. Okay. Hiring intentions are at historic lows. So they're talking about the S&P 500 is so high, but they don't even intend on hiring people. Okay. Unemployment overall is at 4.3%. But here's the part that people miss. Low employment rate doesn't mean low employment for everybody. It doesn't mean that everybody's winning. Okay, so if it's 4.3 for everybody else, guess what it is for Black people? We're at 7.2. So we're almost double unemployment of everybody else. So that's the highest of any other racial group. White unemployment is at 3.7. Of course. Why? So they're saying, you've heard these white guys crying and saying that they're being discriminated against, and they want reparations because they're being discriminated against, and they're the most hated, but they're the most employed. They're on the most boards. They have the most wealth. They have the most land, but they're the most disenfranchised. So they want money for that too. That is insane. So they're at 3.7%. White people, right? White men, white people. And then Hispanics are at 4.7. Asians are at 4.1. Okay. So we're at 8%, and we're rising. Now, I don't know if you know, but that is so critical. Black men. Yeah. So it was sad, because yesterday I put out this video that I had put out last year, and it was about 300,000 Black women. I put that out when when it was first announced that 300,000 Black women had lost their jobs. And in some of the comments, especially on YouTube, because that's where my biggest trollers are on YouTube, Black men were like, good, because these Black women out here thinking they run shit and thinking they so educated. But it's like, brother, don't you know if the Black woman is unemployed, that affects the Black family? We're not trying to get in. We're not trying to get educated so we can go off and be independent. We're trying to build our families. So if it affects Black women, it's also going to affect Black men. So I don't understand what the celebration was for some Black men Those are the beta men. Those were the beta men though. Because if you're a black man and you're celebrating the fact that your woman, which you probably don't have a black woman, was laid off, that says a lot about you. Okay. But now black men's unemployment is at 8%. That is critical, y'all. Black men are the first one fired. They're the last one hired a lot of the times. And they're often locked out of a lot of growing sectors like tech, corporate leadership. You see more black women than you see black men. That's by design. Okay. So that's another way that they can pit us against each other. Black women, our unemployment, we're at 6.4%. Okay. It improved a little bit, but it's still significantly high. 300,000 of us lost our jobs last year. So don't get comfortable with that number, because black women are overrepresented in sectors like government, education, service. Okay. Cuts to DEI have significantly cut a lot of black women jobs. Federal jobs. I'm in the DMV. A lot of these black women had they had GGJs. That's what they call them out here. These good government jobs. Everybody was making six figures. Doge came and cut 270,000 of those jobs. And a significant number of those people who held those jobs were. So it's not just a job market shift, you guys. This is a restructuring of opportunity. That's what I really believe. So if you're on my page, I did like I said, I reposted this video. It's called 300,000 Black Women, One Historical Moment or something like that. Take a look at that video. I'm not going to show it right now, but I think, wait, is it in here? Because I think it's so important that my phone is going off the hook. I think it's really important that we understand. Let me see if it's in my thing and I can show it real quick. If it's not, it's cool, because many of you may have seen it already. You may have not, but look on my page, 300,000 Black Women, One Historical Moment, or something like that. Because I explain what's going on, because I believe that it's a time of a great awakening for Black people. So while we're going through this tribulation, I think that this is a perfect opportunity for us. This is an opportunity because layoffs are continuing to rise. We're still double everybody else. Hiring has slowed down significantly. AI, I just talked about this on Monday. AI is replacing, they said AI will replace all the, Mustafa of Microsoft said AI will be replacing all white collar jobs in the next 18 months. Not will be, can replace. AI can replace all white collar jobs. As Microsoft said this, in the next 18 months. That's huge. Government jobs are shrinking. So now our services are shrinking as well. As a result, nobody cares about that. And then you got to think about these DEI protections that we had in place. They're rolled back. So who sits at the intersection of all that? Black men and Black women, right? Now, we know that Black people were not the biggest benefactors of DEI. It was white women. But we still had roles. A lot of our roles were inside those sectors. So I think the deeper economic reality is that even when the economy looks stable, Black employment is always higher. Black workers are always more sensitive to downturns. You know this. You know the term where it says when Black people, when America has a cold, Black people get the flu. It's always been that way. Here's the thing: when they have this whole idea of meritocracy, and meritocracy is not about merit at all. Meritocracy is simply about hiring people who look like them. So you better believe when people are in positions of power, they're going to naturally hire people that look like them rather than people who don't, right? People who have similarities, people that they want to be around and they want to work with. And what they don't understand, I think, is that when you have a diverse workforce, and I was fortunate to grow up in the Silicon Valley where diversity is celebrated. So I had jobs at some really great companies where diversity was celebrated, like HP. They're all about diversity before it became a thing. They knew that when you have a diverse work environment, you have lower turnover, you have higher momentum, you have, more loyalty. HP, when I worked there, and I worked up there in the C-suite next to the CEOs, they understood they didn't pay the most. They didn't pay the most. However, they had the most loyalist employees. So when you came to apples to apples pay, they weren't at the top, but people wanted to work there because they were celebrated, not tolerated. And so that's the thing that people don't understand, is that you lose money when you lose diversity. But people are so sick with racism that they rather cut off their nose to spite their face because they don't want to be around people of other ethnicities. So I don't want you guys to think that this is doom, and I'm not going to be here very long because I got to get on another podcast in about 30 minutes. But if your only plan is your job, the data is telling us that jobs are scarce and hiring. Do I keep freezing? That being hired is tightening up, and we are disproportionately affected. Okay, we are the ones that are being affected more than everybody else. Do I keep freezing? Did I keep freezing? I think I keep freezing. But we're being affected more than anybody else. And that's what we have to understand. So we have to really position ourselves so that we are not. The Bible says that we should have Ecclesiastes 11:2. So we should have 7, no 8 revenue streams, because we never know when a disaster is going to strike. And I'm telling you, right now is a disaster. Right now is a time where there's perilous times, because they're being exposed. The United States of America is being exposed. We're supposed to be the moral authority. We're supposed to be, the melting pot, but that's not what it is. White people are afraid of the great replacement. They're afraid that they're going to be replaced. And the funny thing is, especially the people who really believe in the great replacement theory, they're going to be replaced right out of their jobs. And those are AI jobs. So yeah, you are being replaced, buddy, but it's not by minorities. It's not by Black people. And the crazy thing that they don't understand is that these corporations, they plan on replacing your ass. So if you don't get in position to where you're owning and you're not the employer, that you're the employee, that you're the employer instead of the employee, then you could be next. And so that's why it's really critical. Oh, so you don't see me freezing. Okay, great. I'm glad you guys don't see me. Thank you. I appreciate you guys, because I felt like I kept freezing. But we're getting to a point where we cannot just continue to depend on these jobs. They're showing their hands. If anything that we've learned in the last 12 months that this man has been in office, his approval rates are the lowest that they've been. Our reputation internationally has plummeted. Our enemies, our allies are now our enemies. Everybody's looking at us sideways. Nobody wants to come to America. Nobody wants to visit America. It's scary. It's a scary time to be here. You look at everything that's going on in the Epstein files. Okay. You look at everything that's going on with ICE and the total distractions and everything else. But the stock market is great. The S&P 500, who is that affecting? It's affecting rich people, millionaires and billionaires. And if you are not positioned to be in the stock market where you're making a significant amount of money, this doesn't affect you, because you are in a position where you need to work. You got to work to live. You need an employer. Well, what about if you shift that? So I can't stress this enough. And if you've heard me talk any little bit of time, oh shit, I got to get up out here. I got to get on the other podcast. If you've ever heard me talk any bit of time, you know that one of the main things for Black people, in order for us to be insulated, is we must practice collective economics. It is paramount. Okay, it is paramount. I often say that I grew up in San Jose, California. If you don't know, I grew up in San Jose. And so in San Jose, when I was growing up, when you look at the Asian community, especially the Vietnamese in San Jose, they used to be like 30 deep in the house, and we used to laugh at them. But why do they own everything in San Jose right now? Because they practice collective economics. You have other communities and families that don't mind generational living because they have an ultimate goal. And so we have to get out of that mindset, the rugged, Eurocentric, individualistic mindset that we have adopted, that's not even innately in us, because Black people were communal by nature. So we should be working with each other, but they've sown so much mistrust in ourselves that we've adopted it. So we don't even trust ourselves to do business with each other. You just have to understand and know how to do business, not business, but you got to understand and know how to do business so that you can make good business decisions. So collective economics is paramount. We got to start doing that. Okay. The other thing is we got to have multiple revenue streams, y'all. We cannot continue to depend on the government. It's just not, it's not working. It's not going to happen. So we got to get out there, and we have to have more things coming in. So if whatever it is, there is something on the inside of you that you have, that you can sell, that you can make money from. It could be a side hustle, because what's happening is Black folks are transitioning to like gig jobs. So they've gone from like these good government jobs and these good corporate jobs and these jobs where they're executives in these DEI spaces that they've let go. But now what's happened? Black people have transitioned to like a lot of gig jobs. They're making money, but they're not building wealth, right? They are going to in the healthcare sector, where they're making money, but they're not making the amount of money that they made before. Okay. They're going into social assistance. They're going into education. They added hundreds of thousands of jobs in 2025, but they have a lower financial growth rate. They have a higher burnout rate. They have a limited wealth upside. So people have been able to transition to jobs, but not build the kind of wealth that they were able to build before. So in the area that I live in, which is a really, everybody, I think the average income is 170,000, and it's 80% Black, 90% Black. A lot of the houses are now going up for sale because people simply can't keep these houses, and it's really sad, because that's what was intended. So when they burned down Black Wall Street before, they got jealous of Black people, and they burned down their towns. Now, what do? They take the jobs away. So now they're trying to destroy these really nice communities by taking their good government jobs away. So we got to take that ability for them to take those jobs away from us, because 277,000 government jobs were destroyed. And that's just not job loss. That's middle class erosion. That's huge for Black people. So Black people were getting into entrepreneurship. Beautiful. Because the thing about it is, we have $2 trillion of spending power. So for them to cut our resources and think that it's not going to affect their bottom line, it really is. So you have $2 trillion of spending power. Less than 2% of our money is spent with each other. So that means we have to start creating jobs, because we have to start creating businesses so that we can spend money with each other. Less than 3% of businesses in Black communities are Black owned. So you come into Black communities and you see all of these other ethnicities in these Black communities, but you'll never see Black businesses in their communities. So we have to shift to entrepreneurship so that we can work with each other. And then we got to be intentional about working with each other, because that's important. So the people who've adopted this negative mindset about Black people, these negative talking points that says, I don't do business with Black people. And I'm sure you heard it, because we've all heard that silly ass shit. And that really pisses me off. I'm cursed right now, because that's the most self-hate Negro stepping fetching ass shit I've ever heard. I don't do business with Black people, but you're gonna do business with everybody else. You're gonna let everybody else take your money, but you're not gonna do business with Black people. But anyway, we have to stop adopting that talking point, that mentality, and we have to be intentional about doing business with each other. So we got to start small businesses. We got to become entrepreneurs. We got to bet on ourselves. We got to invest in ourselves. Okay. We have one of the fastest growing entrepreneur groups in this country. Okay. Many are starting businesses not because of necessity, but not from abundance, not because we just have to, but because not because we want to, but because we have to. But that's how we had to do it back in the day, in the 30s and 40s, when we were building wealth, when we were segregated. Because remember, the second time that Black Wall Street failed, the second time it collapsed for the final time, was during what? Integration. Why? Because we thought the white man's ice was colder. Because when we no longer had to do business with Black people, we stopped doing business with Black people. So we have to. It is necessary that we are intentional about doing business with each other. So if you see a Black business popping up, y'all support them. Y'all spread the word. Y'all share Black businesses. If you see a Black business, we need each other to survive. Y'all remember that song by Hezekiah Walker? I need you to. We need each other to survive. We can't do it alone. So don't get jealous. Help. Okay. And then this is what I teach when I teach these Black women inside my group. I coach Black women in a community called the Net 7 Collective. And one of the things I said is we all have different journeys. We all going to get to our destination at different times. And the beautiful thing about our community is that some of us get to the promised land a little bit before everybody. It's an evolution. It's a journey. Some people get there a lot sooner than the others. But when that person gets there, let's cheer them along. Yeah, you got there. And that person that gets there, you do what you can to bring the other women alongside you. That's how we got to do, Black people. We got to stop being jealous because they've done this divide and conquer shit to us for so long, especially with the Willie Lynch. Light against dark, young against old, rich against the poor, all of that stuff. This is how we've been conditioned. Got to break that mindset, y'all. And we got to really start supporting each other. This is so important. So listen, I got to get up out of here. I wanted to talk about so much, but I got to get on this other podcast because I know she's probably over there like cursing me out right now. I do want to say this. I don't know if y'all can tell, but your girl is turning 50 next week. I'm turning 50 next week, and I'm about to get out of here. So I'm turning 50 next week. I do a lot of coaching, and so I exist. I've dedicated my life, you guys, to the upliftment of Black people. You know, if you've watched my TED Talk back in 2020, I always have talked about the closing the wealth gap. My life has been about educating our people because there's such a huge need. There is such a huge need. And so what I've decided to do for my 50th birthday, because I'm gonna be 50 next week, some of my premier programs are 50% off. What does that mean? I got the Living Trust book. That's been selling like crazy. Thousands and thousands of copies are sold. It's $49. I've expanded not only to have a living trust, but you got your will, you got your pour over will, all these other things, $25. So that's 50% off, right? I'm doing the Bring Your Idea to Life class. That is for people who are interested in, if they have an idea. This is important right now, especially right now, where we have to start creating our own jobs. I'm doing a training in April. That's 50% off right now for my 50th birthday. So that's going to be 50% off. That's a 2-day boot camp where we get intense and we break it all the way down. You have an idea, and by the time you leave, not only are you going to have an idea, you're going to have everything. You're going to be able to articulate your unique value proposition. You're going to be able to sell your product or your service. That's going to be in April. That's 50% off. What else do I got that's 50% off? Oh, I do wealth coaching. So, I own a mortgage company. I own a real estate company. I do some wealth and credit coaching. 50% off. The big one is the Net 7 Collective, which is my passion project, which is me coaching Black women every single week. Last night we had our meeting. We have some really great goals of what we're doing in terms of like investing and building our net worth and our revenue streams up. So I'm coaching these Black women into millions of dollars, and that's 50% off. So if you go to my website, go to ConstanceCarter.com, and I got to get up off of here because I know that she didn't text me again. Go to ConstanceCarter.com. Go to ConstanceCarter.com, and then when you go to ConstanceCarter.com, there's a coupon code that's CC's birthday. CC birthday. Put that coupon code in. I gotta get out of here. She keeps texting. CC birthday. So go to ConstanceCarter.com. Look at all of my programs. Put that in. That's going to give you 50% off. Again, I just want to help you. I want to help you to be able to build, grow, and pass your wealth to your children, your children's children. They said our wealth is going to be a zero in the year 2053. I don't believe that. They didn't fucked around and gave us the internet. They gave us AI, and we have each other as well. So my goal and my mission and my job is to make sure that I can help Black people in any way possible. All right. So I'm gonna get up out of here. I love y'all. I got to get to this other podcast because I'm about to get in trouble. Peace.